Joining me to discuss the efforts to contain Japan's rising currency and how the dollar and the euro are faring off the back of Friday's US job gains. I'm joined now by Simon Derrick, the chief currency strategist for BNY Mellon. Thank you very much indeed for coming to talk to us. Hello. Looking at what your thoughts, the euro really is the currency that you're most concerned about at the moment, is that right?
Well, I do think from a structural perspective those issues simply aren't going away, but I think in fairness there's a lot of currencies out there that have got major structural issues. I think you can make just as strong a case for problems in the United States, you can certainly make just as strong a case for problems in the UK. And I think this is the dilemma that investors are facing at the moment, because almost all of the major currencies out there have got a problem that you could potentially say is a long-term issue that can't be solved relatively easily. And I think as a result, where we're really struggling at the moment is what to buy. Now, there are certain easy currencies to pick out there, the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, all those commodity currencies that are likely to do well on the back of what's happening in Asia. But amongst the real majors, you've really got a very small selection. And it seems to me that's largely the conclusion that investors have come to as well. Hence the reason that despite domestic problems at home, the yen continues to strengthen, and indeed the Swiss franc continues to strengthen as well.
Now, you mentioned there the US dollar. Despite what we saw on Friday, really there's quite a lot of structural problems with the dollar. You don't see that it is going to end up being any kind of safe haven this time.
No, I really don't. I mean, I think, if anything, what we saw with the number on Friday was almost a Goldilocks number. And it was a number that wasn't, it was better than expected. Clearly, that encouraged people with regards to their outlook for the economy. But there was nothing in there that encouraged people to believe that the Fed was going to change policy at any time soon. So for those people that want to use a currency for funding trades elsewhere, carry trade activity, the dollar still represents an ideal opportunity. So hence, despite a slightly better number, we have a weaker dollar today.
Now, if we look at what's happening here in the UK, we've got this the big spending cut review coming up. We've had some quite negative sentiment out of the construction industry today. People concerned about the effect of those, the reality of the spending cuts. So while a lot of people think that they are a good idea in principle, do you think that's going to actually weaken sterling in practice?
I do think it's going to weaken sterling in practice, but I don't think that's any bad thing. The history of sterling has always been that when there are issues in the economy, the safety valve is sterling. We can see that going back to 92, 76, even 1967. It's always been the safety valve. And here again, we've got a major problem in the economy. We need to take these actions. The government is going to take those actions. There is going to be a slowdown in the economy, no question about that. But sterling can take some of that strain. Unlike the euro, of course, which obviously has still got far more problems internally than we have.
Indeed, and in fact, a lower sterling then is also good for exporters.
Absolutely.
So it helps the economy perhaps in the longer run. Now, we talked briefly there about the Aussie dollar, the Kiwi dollar, and also Canada. But if there is a bit of a slowdown everywhere else, in the US and in Europe, then of course commodities prices could fall, and they're very linked to commodities prices. Well, so even they're not perfect, are they?
Absolutely. I mean, and this is an issue, but I think that if we look over the course of this summer, one of the things we've clearly seen, much as we saw in 2007, was low rates globally feeding it through into a commodity price rises. Obviously, there's been the droughts as well in Europe, but for everywhere from cotton to copper, we're seeing multi-year highs kicking in. And it is very much down to accommodative policy. And I think that as long as we believe we're going to have accommodative policy around the world for a long period of time, commodity prices higher, and that's probably commodity currencies higher as well.
So what about Japan? It seems to be strong because everything else is not looking so good.
I think that's almost exactly the case, or at least it has been the case up till now. I mean, China's obviously been a strong buyer as well over the course of the last 6 months as it's diversified away from the euro and the dollar a little bit as well. I do think there's a very good chance that we're going to see intervention kicking in. We've already seen action by the Bank of Japan to actually ease monetary conditions as well. I'm pretty certain we're going to see something in their monthly report expressing concern about the strength of the yen. Politicians are making it absolutely clear that if there is a sharp move, I think that's the key, 1-2% move on the day, they will use that as an opportunity to intervene to try and stop the gains. Whether it's successful or not, we shall see.
Great. Simon, thank you very much indeed.